Hi, everybody. This is Robert Chadwick with America Mortgages. Thank you for joining another webinar. We try to do these on a regular basis to introduce either market updates or, in this case, an amazing new partner that America Mortgages has teamed up with. They're called Newzip. And we have Brock Cassidy here. Brock represents Newzip. I think he can probably do a better job at giving you the brief of how this will work. But just for the way the webinar will run today is we will go over the Newzip slides. Brock will cover everything that Newzip will offer. Then we'll do a short presentation on what America Mortgages can offer alongside of what Newzip is doing. And then we will have a question and answer session at the very end. So, please, you can populate your questions into the chat, but at the very end, we'll address them. Also, if you want to make an appointment to speak to a Newzip realtor or representative or a U.S. loan officer with America Mortgages, within the chat, there is a link that you can click on. So with that said, Brock, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. The stage is yours.
Thanks. Yeah, really appreciate you guys setting this up and having us on. And we've been really excited with the early days of this partnership and now more formally announcing it. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so my background is kind of all been between building partnerships between the mortgage lending world and the real estate world. I've worked for the last 12 years or so on different iterations of that, and started my career at the #1 mortgage lender in the United States during most of the years I was there at Rocket Mortgage, Quicken Loans, and they had some very different but similar difficulties with partnering with realtors in all 50 states from a single call center in Michigan, right? And so I'd spent many years working on that problem, and then came across a really remarkable team of technology and product leaders that had worked in the real estate industry for a long time that were building Newzip. So they brought me on to lead our sales and partnerships. And all Newzip does, we're a national real estate realtor network, and we'll get into kind of what exactly that means, what the bundled offers and savings and program looks like for investors that go through America Mortgages and Newzip's program. But really, at the most basic level, all Newzip does is operate real estate partnerships in all 50 states on behalf of our partners. So they all look a little bit different, and we have a lot of really deep integration with the loan officer process, the lending process, the technology process, the marketing process within America Mortgages, and more all the time. So it's a really natural handoff that not only is free to investors, but you actually save money on the real estate commission. So that's kind of generally how we fit here. And we got a couple introductory slides here too. So like I said, we are all we do is operate partnerships. So it's going to feel just like the rest of the America Mortgages experience. It's an American Mortgages own dedicated real estate brokerage, because we have some realtors that do really well with certain types of clients. So it's not even just our general best realtors. It's realtors that are specifically have experience working with investor clients that have already maybe worked with some of these loan officers and have positive experiences with them and things like that. So every day that we work together, it gets a little more dialed in of who the exact realtors we're going to match investors with might be. But the really unique layer that we have here is actually the second one. So Newzip hires full-time real estate experienced concierges to work as an extension of the American Mortgages team, and they're staffed at the American Mortgages level. So there'll be the same 2 or 3 concierges from our team every time. They have national real estate data at their fingertips. They're licensed real estate agents under a licensed real estate brokerage in the US, with access to the data in all 50 states and Washington, D.C., I should say. And so they'll be like the first line of defense. If you may not know, we run into a lot of clients that are thinking about buying in maybe 2 or 3 different markets. or maybe thinking about buying multiple properties, or maybe want to sell one property and invest it in two other ones. Any of these kind of exchange type processes can get really complicated really quick if all we did was just give you a realtor. So what we do instead is we give you this first line of defense with our concierge team. They figure out exactly what process you need, what timeline you're on. They give you some really good tools that we can get more into as well, to help you start viewing homes, to help you start dialing in the exact market areas you might be searching in, price points you might be searching in, and talking, three-way with the loan officer from America Mortgages that you're working with, about the affordability of different markets, and really ROI of different markets even. But then ultimately, when it's time to start doing kind of in-person type tasks, and especially where a huge portion of folks aren't able to come over, and at least not multiple times, not all throughout a months long home search, over to all the different markets to come see homes. We have boots on the ground, in all 50 states, pre-negotiated partnerships with realtors. So kind of at the point where there's something to do in person, go see that first home, go out and get some video walkthroughs, go out, and if you are planning on doing a visit, driving around with them through the market and seeing a bunch of listings, we'll set you up with a local realtor, that we have third-party data on. So we know that they are a top producing agent. We know that they have really strong reviews out in the market, as well as first-party data on ourselves. We've vetted and onboarded every single agent, every single realtor in our network, and they've agreed that they are going to raise their hand to be a partner to America Mortgages and other partners of ours, and agree to give the level of client service we expect and the cost savings we expect, which is the fun part we'll get into in a second. And then, really, it just kind of ties together between our concierge team, getting all that information up front. You may even end up matching with two or three different realtors if you're, selling a property in one market and buying a property in another, or if you're an investor that's looking in two or three different markets. We've had a lot of clients like that in the early days of this partnership. That we can match you with, the one concierge can help you run two or three or four different processes with different realtors in different markets. So all that transparency is shared between the realtor, between the loan officer, and between you. Everyone kind of has their own interface to see it. And ultimately, the hook to juice your return on investment, and bring down your fees from this whole process, is that we have pre-negotiated rebates and discounts with our agents all over the country. So yeah, the way the experience works, and that link I think is right in the chat. I believe you put it in there a minute ago, Robert, to go see kind of our landing page that explains the whole program and partnership. But really, it's just this embedded offering within the conversations you're already having with America Mortgages, and their lending team. And it totally varies by partner. It totally varies by client. Totally varies by where everyone's at in their process. But we tend to see a chunk of people that already have a realtor, and don't need our services, and then a chunk of people that are really motivated by the savings, and so they want to switch from a realtor they may have been planning on working with to our team. And then we see a chunk that don't have a realtor at all and just want to start day one with us. So that's what that 35% is on the bottom. It's kind of like about a third, a third, a third between those three scenarios of what we see. But the success rate goes up dramatically. As people, especially international investors trying to kick off a home search, the success rate can be really low if you don't have the local help and the local market intel that our realtors have, and that our team has. And so the success rate goes up dramatically for all of us when you do go through this process. From the customer standpoint, you are going to save 0.5% as a real estate credit on the home you buy. So whatever program and details of the lending that you work out with your loan officer, this is totally in addition. This is totally in the real estate side of the ledger, an additional savings because you went through their program that we operate. So it's 50 basis points or 0.5% of the purchase price. You buy whether, yeah, at any price point, uncapped, up or down. So if you bought a $500,000 property, you just get a $2,500 credit at the closing table. It's really that simple on the buy side. The agents in our network, the mechanics of it, won't spend too much time on the boring stuff, but the mechanics of it is that the agents pay Newzip to be part of this program. And so then we give a portion, the majority actually, of the revenue we make from the closing back into this credit to invest in the partnership, to invest in your success, and to invest in loan officers being thrilled to add this offering. So it's free for the loan officer to use, free for the consumer to use, free for the agent to use. They just split their commission with us, and we split our commission back to you in the form of that credit. On the sell side, it's a little bit differently. If you're selling a home and buying a home, if you're selling multiple homes to reinvest somewhere else, whatever it may be, we also have a pre-negotiated 1% discount. So that's in a market where the average listing fee might be, in most markets in the US, it's between 5 and 6% today. Total listing fees. We pre-negotiate with our agents, no matter what the market norm is, that they will go 1% below that. And we enforce that at the deal level. We'll look at the recent closings in that area, see that the average commission is 5.5%, and we'll expect our agents to set you up with a listing agreement for 4.5% or lower. And so that's where we can all feel good about the cost savings. If you go through both parts, you can save 1.5% on the real estate side, and that's in addition to all the existing programs that you can get through America Mortgages. This is firmly a cherry on top of all that process. Yeah, I just want to say a little bit more about our team. I mentioned it at the top. One of the big differences for us is we don't just kind of throw you over a wall to a local realtor who reaches out whenever they reach out. Our team gets in touch immediately. And we're the loan officer handoff to our team is something we've worked on a lot too, where sometimes it's even three-way conversations right from the get-go. Sometimes it's even jumping in WhatsApp together or email together kind of from the beginning, if that's easier than getting on a live call. But we connect you with one dedicated home advisor who plays the concierge role I was talking about. They are going to ultimately help you get that match to a local agent, but they are licensed agents themselves, which allows them to have that data in hand about what's going on in the market. They all have that experience of being realtors, and they can, because they're realtors and have that access, they can actually share listings with you, pricing with you, and have pricing conversations with you. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the requirement in the US and in a lot of countries to even be able to legally have those types of conversations, you have to be licensed. So that's why we only hire experienced folks into this team to partner up with the American Mortgages process. Cool. And then, yeah, I think this is really one of my last slides. We just have a couple of templates other than this that we can share as examples. So all the agents in our network, the 15,000 agents out in all 50 states in the US, we have about 15,000 of them. Really, we have more like 3,000 or 4,000 that we work with all the time, just depending on the markets and the coverage. But we have access to a lot more than that. If you end up hunting for a home in more of an outlying area or more rural area for any reason, we can serve that as well. But they are all top 25% by closing production, by closed homes in their local market in the past 12 months. And they are all full-time realtors for at least 3+ years. There's kind of a weird situation in the US real estate market today where more than half of licensed realtors do 0 or 1 transactions a year. Those are not the people in our network. The people in our network are closing at least 1 deal a month. More often, to be in that top 25%, it's 2 or 3 homes a month. And they are all local experts doing it in their own market and coming with a lot of experience. The other thing that doesn't happen too much, but we are able to do if you ever run into any issues, is we have an agent quality guarantee where we can even when you sign an agreement with the realtor, a buyer agency agreement with them, or some people call it a buyer rep agreement with them, we can if you have any issue with that agent and want to get rematched to another agent, but still stay with the same offer and the same discount and the same credit, we can claw back the referral and get you another agent and with all the same offers standing. So that's our agent quality guarantee. It's very rare that it comes up because we do all this vetting up front before we do the agent matching. But whether the loan officer or you as the client ever do run into any issue with an agent, we can pull it right back and get you matched to another agent. So those are really the broad strokes of the program. It's you're going to have access to the concierge, you're going to have access to the local agents, and then you're going to have the cash rewards program. Just so you guys can visualize what it is. Again, on that $500,000 home purchase, I think the average home in America today is like around 440 or 450, but we'll use simple numbers. At $500,000 purchase, you're getting a $2,500 credit. At a $500,000 home sale, you're getting a $5,000 discount. There are a couple states that have local laws about the mechanics of how our cash rewards program needs to work. So there's 8 states that don't allow that exact credit structure. But we haven't seen a ton of volumes in the early days of this partnership in these states. It's maybe a couple of them that some of you may be interested in that come up a little more often are Tennessee, Oklahoma, and maybe Mississippi, and Missouri. But for the most part, almost every state allows that structure as is. And then the program exists everywhere, and the sell side discount exists everywhere. There's just some particular local laws that make it a little difficult to offer that exact program on the buy side. But yeah, that's it. That's the layout of the program. And then I just want to show what you guys are going to get when you get set up with Newzip. You're going to get your own kind of, we call it a hub. You're going to get your own experience. The agent has their own, the loan officer has their own, our team has their own. But yours is one we've invested a lot of time in recently, where you can see all kinds of different filters on the communities you're searching in. So you can see school ratings, you can see walkability ratings, you can see all kinds of different things that affect investment return, local recreation, local sports teams. You can see probably 3 or 4 other things in that vein, traffic ratings, things like that. And you can see how your timeline, based on what we know from our loan officer partners, our lending partners at American Mortgages, will know a lot about your loan and your the financial side of your process. So then we'll marry that with the real estate side of what's going on in that market, that target market you have. You're looking in Miami and whatever. Here's the homes that are in that bucket that are close to your budget, close to your pre-approval amount that you might want to start searching for. And then all throughout the process, all the way up until closing, the hub continues to update. So once you get a realtor assigned, you'll be able to contact them through the hub. Once if you change your target search area, the listings will change, and things like that. So we just think of this as your hub to go find information, research the market. You can see median price points. You can see how price changes are happening. But as much as anything, it's a place that you can also just keep track of your process and reach out to all your team. So that's the experience that you guys will get digitally. And I don't think we're going to do a full demo right now. We can do more if we have time. But that's what I wanted to go through Robert. Did I miss anything big there?
Nope, I think it was fantastic. Thank you, Brock. And I don't believe that people, until they use your service, really appreciate how amazing it is. I can tell you one of the biggest issues that we have is people get all excited about being able to get a U.S. mortgage as a non-U.S. resident. We issue the borrower a pre-approval letter, but then they're kind of on their own to find it. So I think this marriage that we have with Newzip is fantastic. And besides the fact that everything that you described about being able to see the neighborhoods and all the information about the property, but the rebate is phenomenal. Anytime anybody is going to give you free money for something that you would have done anyway, you can't beat it. So.
Yeah. We have in a lot of the conversations, the clients are basically saying, I may or may not know another realtor who might be able to help me. And okay, that's fine. but here's what you'd save if you go through the program. We already have all your details about your loan. We think of it as like putting guardrails on the process of, all right, now you're focused. Now you have a team working for you. Now you have the data in front of you. So the success rate goes through the roof of actually closing on a, target property.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, certainly we want the clients to know, or it's actually more helpful, working with your system if they have an idea of the city that they're interested in or the town or the zip code.
Mhm.
But just as an example, say somebody doesn't, or they have multiple cities that they may be interested in, how would that
Yeah.
work?
Yeah, exactly. That's actually happened quite a bit in the first few deals we're kind of in the process of doing together, where someone may say, I'm interested in either buying in, two or three different markets, either a couple of markets in Florida or one in Georgia or one in Texas. So that's why that concierge role, our home advisor team, is so important, because they'll run the whole plan. If you whether you need to sell a property somewhere and buy one somewhere else, whether you aren't sure between three different markets, they'll handhold you through the beginning of the process to help you figure out maybe the couple that you're most interested in. We don't want to just match you with 20 different realtors in 20 different cities and say go. Either that introduces a different problem. So, they spend time with you up front. They spend time with the loan officer up front and kind of create a plan together. And then from there, our team regularly will make two or three different, realtor pairings for one client. You want to look in someone that's a specialist in West Texas, someone that's a specialist in South Florida, and someone that's a specialist in whatever, Los Angeles. It's like, okay, we have great agents in all three of those. We'll just kind of stay abreast of like which ones are most active, and give you more guidance as you nail it down. So we've had some clients that have matched with three or four different realtors through our program, and then kind of whittled down their process to their ultimate target by doing that.
Yeah, fantastic. And if I'm not mistaken, there's no cost
Yeah,
for
yeah,
the clients to sign up. So I mean, really,
no,
it's a win-win. I
yeah.
yeah, see why anybody would not use Newzip when you're using American Mortgages.
Yeah, and the realtors in the program are to that point. The realtors in the program are really motivated too because they're not making or paying any money up front. They're also success based, so they're also hungry, and they're also excited to be part of the program. So we see a really good level of service.
Ah, fantastic. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to go over the American Mortgages slides. Should take maybe 10 minutes. After that, we will have a question and answer session. And again, remember in the chat group on the webinar screen, there is a link for both Newzip and a link to be able to speak to a U.S. loan officer. So I'll start and we'll do the question and answer session right after. Okay, so thanks again everybody for joining. Certainly you're probably familiar with American Mortgages. We are both a global lender and a global broker. American Mortgages focuses strictly on providing U.S. mortgage financing for non-U.S. residents. It's a much easier process than what you probably would think. And when you're also matched with a group like Newzip, I think it makes the process from end to end quite smooth. So just to give you a general U.S. mortgage overview for our programs and our company, we certainly can do purchases, refinance, and cash out. We have loan programs if you're a non-U.S. citizen, so you don't hold a U.S. passport or a green card, for up to 75% of the property value. And if you're a U.S. expat living abroad, earning foreign earned income, we can get up to 80%. What's very unique in the U.S. Compared to, I think, pretty much every country in the world is there is no age restriction when it comes to mortgage tenure. So regardless if you're 19 or 99, you still get the opportunity of a 30-year fixed or just even a 30-year amortized mortgage. Absolutely amazing. Allows you to get the most return for your money. We have a great program, and this was something that was introduced, as rates started to come up after COVID was over. We have a fixed 10-year interest only. How that works is the rate for a 10-year period is fixed, but you're only servicing the interest. After the 10-year period, the loan flips to a 20-year principal and interest mortgage. The unique thing is there is no change in rate. So if you're looking for, to focus on long-term goals and want some, I guess, consistency in your real estate, you know exactly what that payment will be over that period of time. Loan programs in all 50 states. So regardless of where you're looking to buy, and again, this matches perfectly with Newzip because they also do have these programs in all 50 states. What is probably one of the most fantastic things, and I'm sure everybody that's a real estate investor is hearing about the term DSCR, the debt service coverage ratio. We are one of the leaders, if not the leader, when it comes to foreign nationals offering this program. And what it is you're qualifying only on the rental income of the property. It's common sense. It actually makes sense to not qualify on your personal income, but qualify on the cash flow of the property on a one-to-one basis. If you want to use income, US expat, or maybe the DSCR does not work out, we allow foreign income to be used. So, and that I'll explain later how that works, but it's a very simple, easy process. Of course, all of our borrowers are living abroad. They're either US expats or they are foreign nationals. No US credit is required for the foreign nationals. If you are a US expat, we would like to see that you have a credit score of at least 640. But we are also aware that many expats have lived abroad for many, many years, and we do have programs for you if you do not have US credit. This is something, and it's more related, I guess, into Asia or Europe, but we have no minimum deposit required. So no AUM is needed in order to get our mortgages. And I think one thing, and it's not on this slide, but it's very unique, is because we fund onshore. So we're a US direct lender. All our money is in US dollars. If you're living abroad and you're concerned buying investment property abroad could affect your ability to borrow in your home country, we do not report back the debt to your home country. So this won't affect any of the debt servicing ratios that you may have in your home country, which makes this a fantastic opportunity to invest in abroad. The process, once you go onto our portal, which is a secure encrypted portal that allows you to take the application, submit the documents. It takes us, we say 72 hours, but normally it's about 24 hours to issue you a pre-approval letter. And this is where Newzip would come in. Once you have that pre-approval letter, once you find a property that you like, you use that letter to show that you've been approved for the mortgage, and it makes the process not only more credible for you as the investor, but also safer for the realtor on the other side and also the seller on the other side. Average closing time is anywhere from 30 to 45 days, depending on where you want to sign. You can sign your closing documents in any country. Either if there's a reciprocal agreement and we can use an apostille, fantastic. You can just go to your local notary. Otherwise, we'll arrange something at one of the US embassies or consulates. And of course, you can always travel to the US if that's something you want to do as well. One of the things that we are very, very proud of is 97% of our loan applications get approved. And if they don't get approved, it's not normally on our side. It's normally something wrong with the property. So we have loan officers all over the world. Our goal is to be able to work in your time zone and in your language. So no longer do you need to stay up until 3 in the morning or wake up at 4 in the morning to be able to talk to, say, a loan officer in New York or wherever it may be. We have loan officers within your time zone, probably living in your same country, that are experienced with foreign national lending. So I'll go over the loan programs, be quite quick. And then again, any questions that you have, please drop it into the chat. So this is our most popular loan program, and this is the one that I had discussed before. Everybody is talking about this DSCR. what the DSCR is again, I call it common sense underwriting. If you're going to buy a commercial building, for example, you're not going to qualify using your personal income to qualify. You're going to use the cash flow of that building. And this is the same way that we look at investment properties. So when you're looking for a property and you say you reach out to one of Brock's teams at Newzip, one of the things that you want to tell them from the very beginning is, hey, you're buying this property as an investment, and you need the rents to cover the mortgage payment, taxes, and insurance. As long as that does on a one-to-one basis, and even in some programs we can go below one-to-one, then the loan is going to qualify. And just as an example, because we get this question a lot, if for some reason it doesn't, or it's a little bit short, it doesn't mean that the loan doesn't qualify. All it means is maybe you just have to come in with a little bit more down payment, or we have to switch you to an income program. So either way, this is a fantastic loan program. If you look below at the explanation on the slide, it actually shows how it works. As long as the rent, and keep in mind too, when you buy a property, the property does not need to be rented when you close the loan. So we're going, if the property is a non-rented property and you're going to go off of what the valuation or the appraisal will state would be the rental income for that property, and that's what we'll use to qualify. If you're buying something that's already fully rented, then it's possible to use the actual rental agreement that you have on the property, assuming that it's more than what we would be able to get through the appraisal. If you're a US expat, we try to make this as if you walked into your local bank living and working in the US, except no W-2 is required, and we allow foreign earned income. So if you're a US expat and you've tried to go to one of the big banks, even if it's banks that you've worked with for years, as soon as you have foreign earned income, you're pretty much out of the picture. And again, everything that we do is focused on this market. So certainly, excuse me. So certainly, the loan amount for this is a little bit higher. Minimum loan amount is $150,000 up to $5 million. And for our normal vanilla programs, we go all the way down to 100,000 loan amount and up to 3 million. Okay, so in this particular case, this is our AM Investor Plus loan. So in the example, maybe you really like this property and you think it has amazing potential, for either appreciation or the rents will go up, but it's currently not qualifying on a debt servicing of the mortgage or the rental to what the mortgage is. So we have a program that allows you to use your income from your home country or the country you're working in to qualify, but we're not going to ask for your local tax returns or your end of the year statement. You can imagine how cumbersome that would be for underwriting if we're doing loans from people in Shanghai all the way to Sydney to Stockholm, and everybody has different tax returns. It would become a nightmare. So what we do is we use a very simplified term. If you're employed, we want a letter from your employer. If you're self-employed, we want a letter from your accountant. And this just simply states 2 years of income and current year-to-date income. So that's it. That's what we're going to use to qualify. Again, you can get up to 75% financing using this program. And your debt servicing ratio has to work out just like it would with a regular income loan at 43%. And how we would calculate that would be just really based on what is your current housing expense in the country that you're living in. What is the property that you're buying, and how can we offset that with what the rent would be? High net worth clients. When we first started this company, most of our business was coming from private banks. As everybody is probably aware, especially if you're watching this as a private banker, as a high net worth individual, very, very complicated tax returns, multiple jurisdictions, multiple income streams. So we've simplified this process, I think, to absolutely phenomenal way. We don't ask you for your personal income. Again, very complicated. if you have assets, and when I say assets, I mean cash in the bank, stocks, bonds, etc. We're going to use a 2-month average of these liquid assets, and we will divide that over a fixed period. In this particular case, it's what the fixed term of the loan is. So it's a 5-year fixed loan, amortized over 30 years. We'll take the average of that portfolio over 2 months, and we'll divide it by 60 months, and that'll give us an estimated monthly payment expense. So it's actually a very, very simple process. What makes this really nice as well is there's no encumbrance on these assets. So even though you're using these assets to qualify, we are not going to put any kind of charge on those assets. The day the loan closes, you can trade it, you can sell it, you can move it wherever you want. There's not going to be any issue with it. So fantastic loan program. If you're a high net worth individual, it makes buying a property in the US absolutely not only a simple, easy process, but a very clear and transparent process. So that's it for our slides. This is our contact. If you're able to scan the QR code, I think it brings you to our WhatsApp. You can reach pretty much any loan officer through our general WhatsApp. There is a phone number that's listed on here as well for the head office, where you can reach a loan officer 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, regardless of where you're calling from. So with that said, Brock, we will start with the questions and answers. So how this will work is I will read the question, and if it's pertaining to you, then you'll answer it. If it's pertaining on the mortgage side, then I'll answer it, and then there'll probably be stuff that is for both. So first question, is there any cost to the buyer for using Newzip? I know we covered this earlier, but feel free to.
Yeah, no, there's no cost for using Newzip. You're going to ultimately sign agreement with the local realtor we match you with, but that'll be in line or below normal fees. And then on top of that, you'll get the credit at closing that we talked about. So you'll get that 50 basis points of the purchase price back as a credit. And I should say, based on I didn't know you guys had all those programs. That was helpful for me too. I should say the credit's totally uncapped. So if private bankers doing bigger deals or multiple deals, anything like that, those credits scale up to multi-million-dollar purchases, whatever, as well. So that part I should have said earlier. But yeah, no fee for using Newzip itself.
Yeah, fantastic. And actually one question, and we didn't have this slide in this presentation, but we do a lot of portfolio transactions. So one loan over a number of properties.
Yeah.
Often it's more of people just pulling cash out of it, but there are people that say, hey, I want to buy this portfolio of 40 properties in Atlanta. Does that apply to the Newzip program as well?
Yeah, it can. It can. Some of those deals you don't even ultimately go through a realtor, so that would be up to you if it's like truly buying like a portfolio of either already performing properties or vacant properties. Like that comes with its own processes. But yeah, no, we regularly see people buying at least buying 2, 3 properties, selling one property and flipping that into buying a 4-unit property, things like that. It's flexible from our side. It doesn't matter per se. It's just a matter of if you're doing something like like buying a huge portfolio, you may not want to go through like a normal realtor relationship. You may want to go through like just the listing broker or commercial broker that's putting it up for sale. But our team's always happy to talk about those things.
Yeah, fantastic. So next question. Brock, this would be for you. Can you walk us through what happens after I submit my information on the Newzip platform? Very good question.
Yeah. So the most common way that will happen right before that is that you'll already be talking to a loan officer on the American Mortgages team, and they'll sign you up or send you the link to where you can sign up. So you should already, in most cases, you'll have already had that conversation. But you can also inquire directly to hear from us. What happens is you will immediately get kind of like some intake questions that you can either answer on a call, answer by WhatsApp, or answer by email from our team, just to kick off the process, set up your home search technology that you saw at the end of my presentation. And then ultimately we do try to set up a call, but no, with different depending on where you are regionally in the world, that can be frustrating. So we can do voice notes through WhatsApp or anything like that if we need to do if we need to manage that because our home advisors are US based. But yeah, they'll reach out by WhatsApp, email, and get you hooked up to start your search.
Yeah, I think your platform is amazing. I mean, I know we've spent a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of effort on creating our mortgage platform. And I think that what you're offering, I mean, just to be able to see the data and not only working with a professional that knows that location, like probably the back of their hand, but being able to have that data and be able to kind of feed off of it. I mean, again, it's something that you're not only getting a vetted realtor, but with, Newzip, you're actually getting, everything that should come with the buying experience, but often does not.
That's exactly how we look at it now. I appreciate you saying that. Yeah.
Okay, next question. Can Newzip negotiate with the seller regarding the purchase price?
Yeah. That'll happen almost every deal. It won't always be our team that does it. It might be the buyer's agent that we match you with that's out in the local market that's working more hands-on on the negotiation. But yeah, you'll get an opportunity to talk to our team about advice with that and process with that, and sometimes they can even do it. But more often it'll be your local buyer's agent will do that kind of conversation, trading, negotiation at the closing table. We have a lot of clients come in that are looking for a certain amount of seller concessions to make their numbers work, or sometimes the listing realtor can be convinced to cut their commission a little bit if a home's been sitting for a while. I know we got some savvy investors that are listening here that are looking for ways to juice the return early on the purchase side. So yeah, that stuff's all on the table. That's what our licensed realtors, both on our team, but probably even more importantly in the local market, will help you with.
Perfect. I think too, if you look at just our clientele in general, they tend to be more sophisticated buyers because they are
Yeah.
buying outside of their home country, assuming
Right.
they're foreign nationals. So I think, that's super helpful.
Yeah,
Next,
yeah. It's always a partnership between the different parties. I mean, the agent will be really good at knowing the local nuances of it and where you may be able to save money or don't want to save, like whether you want to pay for an extra inspection like this. In some states you might, some states that might be a waste of money. They'll help you with all those decisions locally.
perfect, perfect. And one question, I'm not sure if this is going to come up in the chat, but it just sort of hit me as we were talking. Do you help with, say, somebody uses your services to buy the property, but now they need a property manager? Is there some sort of service that you guys offer for that as well, or?
We don't like offer it explicitly as like an offering from Newzip, but we partner with these top real estate teams in that local market. They'll always have recommendations in my experience. So, again, it's kind of like that. That's the beauty of us having we know a lot about the market in all 50 states, but not necessarily like who the best property manager is in that county, in that city. But our partners will. And so that's, those are the type of agents we have in our network that are producing, helping a lot of investors buy. Some of them might have a property management division in their real estate brokerage. So yeah, it's not hard to find once you get into our process. But it's not like a Newzip offering where we have pricing for it or anything.
Yeah, no worries. I think it just
Yeah.
makes it, again, full circle,
Yeah.
very.
Yeah, exactly.
Next question. I am a US citizen living overseas with pretty much non-existent US credit. Which mortgage program applies to me, US expat or foreign national? Very good question. Something that seems to be coming up more and more often, especially it seems like a lot of expats that are living in Asia that have lived there for many years and are maybe like, relocating back or wanting to buy a property for just pure investment purposes. If you no longer maintain US credit, we would look at you as a foreign national. which would mean that you would, your maximum loan to value would be 75% rather than 80. But what makes it super unique is once you do reestablish your credit, you can always refinance. Takes probably about 24 months, but you can refinance. And when you refinance, and especially if you're doing it with us, then you would qualify again or the following time as a US expat. So you get kind of best of both worlds. Next question. Do you have to go to the USA to open a bank account before I start buying properties, especially if I'm setting up an LLC? Uh, a question that comes up all the time. Now, you don't need to set up an LLC to use our loan programs. We have loan programs that allow you to buy as an individual. Now, we highly recommend that you set up an LLC for a variety of reasons, whether it's taxes or just limiting your liability as a property owner. Certainly when you're buying property anywhere, whether it's in the US or in your home country, you want to make sure that if something happens in that property, some event or accident or whatever it is, if somebody was to sue you, that they're not going to be able to go after all of your net worth. By putting something in an LLC, they're the only thing that they're suing in most cases is the LLC itself. So it's again, it's exactly what it is, a limited liability corporation. So you have the choice. Yes, you can open it or no. Now, getting a US bank account, we actually refer people to Wise. Wise is an online, basically an online bank, but it allows foreign nationals to open up a US bank account without actually having to travel to the US. So, but again, because our loan officers 100% of our business is foreign nationals. It's not a side business for us. This is all we do. We know exactly what you need as a non-US resident, both expat or foreign national, when it comes to the small little stuff like, how do I set up a bank account? How do I get an LLC? So that's why using an expert, whether it's, American Mortgages or an expert when it comes to, real estate matching like Newzip is crucial when it comes to investing in the US is probably, and again, as our parent company, Global Mortgage Group, can lend all over the world. And I have to say the US is probably the only place that is this transparent. Next question. Not really sure what that means. Okay. Do you do both residential and commercial properties for any amount? Okay, so I'm assuming this is for the mortgages. When it comes to residential properties, we have a minimum loan amount of $100,000 and a maximum loan to value for a foreign national of 75%. So just kind of keep that in mind. You need to be around a purchase price of 140,000 for that to work. If you're looking at the top end, there really is no top end. But as you get bigger in loan size, the loan to values will diminish. So it'll get smaller and smaller as you get larger with the property values. But keep in mind too, where interest rates are now, pretty much anything over, say, a $600,000 or $700,000 property doesn't debt service. So that's something to keep in mind when you are looking at more expensive properties. When it comes to commercial lending, yes, we do offer commercial lending. We want to look at a minimum of, I believe it's $1 million US dollars in order to be able to get a commercial loan through American Mortgages. Next question. How long would it take to get a mortgage approval for an investor with American Mortgages? It's very quick. Once we have all your information, which is put into our secure platform, we can issue you a pre-approval, which gives you the letter to be able to present to a realtor and the Newzip team, showing that you've been pre-approved for a loan. The actual loan process and the transaction from application to when you actually own the property is anywhere from 30 to 45 days. So, okay. Actually, it looks like it's kind of a light question and answer session here. I guess you're your presentation covered pretty much
I
everything.
guess so. Yeah,
Yeah.
we try to make it as simple a program as possible. So maybe we actually succeeded. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So, with that said, thank you, Brock. I really appreciate your time. And of course, oh, wait, hold on. There was no. I really appreciate your time, and thank you for obviously the partnership that you have with America Mortgages. We sincerely appreciate it, and I think our clients do as well. And with that said, do you have any last statements before we log off?
No, no, same. Yeah, we thanks for having me on. Thanks for choosing us to be your US real estate partner for all your borrowers. This was educational for me on some of the programs you guys have even, so that was time well spent. Yeah, no one needs to hesitate to talk to us. It's all well connected between the lending process and the real estate process as you start working with a loan officer and our concierge team. So no stupid questions if anyone wants to come in and talk to our team. The links are in the chat there. And otherwise, yeah, this is a fun partnership for us. We think it's a great fit to be able to cut out some of the problems with buying real estate in the US from abroad and the local presence that we already have that can help provide that. So thanks for having us on and trusting us with that.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Thank you, Brock. And again, if anybody wants to get more information on Newzip, within the chat, you will see a link where you can go onto the homepage and you can, go through the process. And of course, if you want to speak to a loan officer, you can click and you can make an appointment. It's obviously free. One of the last questions that came up, it says, is there an upfront fee that needs to be paid once I submit our file to America Mortgages? And it's not. America Mortgages works on a success based fee, so there's no. I guess it's similar to
Yeah.
News.
Yeah, our team as well. Yeah, they're a resource. We only get paid on success.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, the US is a very unique place when it comes to this, so take advantage of it. Besides the fact the US has no stamp duties, it's absolutely the best place to invest. And when you have partnerships like we have with Newzip, it just makes investing that much easier. So with that said, Brock, thank you again very much. We look forward to a successful partnership, and everybody that signed in. Thank you again. We do have a webinar coming up, I believe, towards the end of August. And it's going to be covering the new big, beautiful bill. I think I said that correctly. And actually all of the tax advantages that come with it. So join us there. And again, Brock, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for joining, and have a good day, night, or morning.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.